Good afternoon, parents. Really thankful to get to share some time with you. I'm out at the pavilion at SMBC, and I'm glad to get to share some moments with you all and another opportunity, Lord willing, to be with you as you are with your sons and daughters and you are with each other as well. I'll jump in with a story that's current from last night. Leah and I were sitting at our house. Leah was working on some photographs of, not surprising, joyful, of our granddaughter, Emma. We have taken a lot of pictures in the last weeks of our life. We have actually had the opportunity to be around Taylor and Emma for one weekend about 3 weekends ago, and then Taylor, Ashley, and Emma. Taylor's our son, his wife, and our granddaughter Emma. They actually were with us a couple of weeks ago here on Signal at Beacon Hall for a week, and we have found that we have taken a lot of pictures. It was a really, really special time. Really felt like that we were getting to know Emma really for the first time. We've obviously seen her and been around her, but we were aware that this particular little stretch of time we were getting to know her personality and also the joy of being around Taylor and Ashley and just watching them enter into life as parents. So last night Leah was working on photos of Emma, which is something that she really, really enjoys doing. I was sitting there, I think I was reading, and the phone rang, and it was Taylor. Taylor's our oldest, and he and Ashley and Emma, along with two really good friends from Nashville that they've kind of made themselves like a little pod during the pandemic. They've socially distanced both of their families, and so they decided that they would go away for vacation. They had a connection with a spot in Michigan, and so they left yesterday and started their drive, and they were going to wind up last night in Traverse City. I think you call it Traverse. I don't think you say Traverse, but anyway. My phone rang about 9 or 9:30. And it was Taylor. And I answered, and I expected to hear, hey, just want to let y'all know we made it safe, kindness, just to let us know that they had gotten there. And he led off by saying, everybody's okay. I just want you to know that everybody's okay. So I was obviously immediately tipped off to, okay, this is not just hey, I wanted to let you know that we made it okay to Michigan. And he calmly began to share about the fact that they had made it to Traverse City, and they literally were at an intersection where they were about to turn to go to the Airbnb that they're going to be staying at for a few days. And he said that where they were at that turn, that you could actually see the Airbnb. They were that close to it. And as Taylor began to pull out, another car came and actually struck their vehicle. The airbags did not deploy, but as the officer came to help them, he said that his sense is that there was probably enough damage to the front end of the car that he expected that it would probably be totaled. And so they were swimming all of a sudden in the unexpected realities of dealing with a car wreck. So thankful that everybody was okay, and facing the reality that they may be in Michigan and making decisions about their car being totaled, etc. So they were just before starting into the insurance realm and just starting that process. And it was really good to talk to Taylor, and it was also really tender to hear him. Taylor was driving, and they were all in the vehicle together. It was their vehicle, Taylor and Ashley's vehicle. And he shared that Emma did, at the collision, that she was aware that something had happened and that she did start crying, and that she had then settled back down. And later when we talked to them, she was sleeping peacefully. And that was obviously a just for them kind of a traumatic intersection for them of just pondering, okay, wow, we just had a car wreck and Emma was with us and we're so glad that she is okay and we're so glad that we're all okay. And just asking us to pray for them, thanking God for caring for them, and then asking God to pray for them as they then started to press into all of the details. And so I got off the phone. Leah had been listening and she was obviously aware, but I got off the phone and we just sat quietly. Leah actually laid in the floor. Lacey, our dog, went over and laid by Leah. When Leah gets emotional or teary, it's interesting. Our dog Lacey usually moves towards her instinctively. And so Lacey laid down in the floor by Leah, and we just spent time praying, and we're just thanking God for protecting Taylor and Ashley and Emma and their friends. And that is my lead off today, just to talk about briefly in wanting to be with you all as moms and dads about the marking of time, the passing of time, which, as I think I've said a number of times, is really hard when you're in the thick of having middle and high school students and children and college students. In the thick of being with them during those years, it is hard to have perspective about the time moving on and that time being over. And I was particularly struck last night with the reality that I was talking to my son, to our son, who is now an adult man. He's married and he has a daughter, and he was in kind of a first intersection like that of they were all in a vehicle together and something undesirable, unexpected happened, and just facing the realities of that. In your parent field guide that I sent out to you during the summertime, at some point in time, I want to invite you to, I do wish that I would have done page numbers, but I didn't, and that's okay. I would love for you to find the page. It's towards the back, and it says Church Family Milestones, and you just hunt and look for the 6 orange dots and the 3 red dots. And this is actually something that BJ and Ruby and I, pre-pandemic at the end of 2019 and then the beginning of 2020, prior to the pandemic coming, we have been meeting weekly, and we have been talking about a milestone path to just make the members of our church aware of as places where we as church shepherds want to be present with you along the way. And I'll let you read this and look at this. It's simply an overview, and the next time that I send a with video to you all, I'm actually, Lord willing, going to be talking about some specifics of marking time specifically with middle school students, and then specifically marking time with high school students. And you can watch one that applies to you or both if you choose to. But I'm actually going to just read to you from this page. This is a list of milestones that we listed out. Life beginning and dedication, preschool, grade school, middle school, high school, graduation, high school, and college. And as I am talking to you all and just sharing a few thoughts about marking time with your students and your family, what I'm aware of is that I no longer have a life beginning student in my home with Leah, a preschool student, a grade school student, a middle school student, or a high school student. And our last one has graduated from high school and is now in college. And just referring to this list, he is all the way down at the bottom of that list. And this is what I'm wanting to say, and I feel like I've been saying to y'all along the way, and that is this: the time goes away. the time goes away. So to the ones that I am sending this link, what we share in common, what you share in common is that you actually are in a time in your life when you have middle and high school students with you. And I simply want to encourage you that because they are still with you, that there are still opportunities present of investing in them, which you are, and which I want to be a friend, to be present with you, to encourage you in that way. Now, a confession. I am aware that the things that I am sharing with you are not necessarily things that will fit each family dynamic. But here's the confession. And I'm aware that this is something that has been kind of rumbling around inside of me. Earlier in my time with you all over the last year, I was writing to you. If you look in the Parent Field Guidebook, one of the first areas is some of the cultivate writings that I wrote, and I was just trying to let y'all get to know me a little bit, and I was wanting to invest in you all about just the vision that the Lord might have for you and your family. And I remember receiving a response back from a parent as I had written on one particular day, and the parent was just really bluntly honest with me, and they just said, I sense that what has happened in your family is not necessarily lining up with what's going down with me. And I remember responding, just really appreciating the honesty about it. And I think that the thought was the ideas that you're sharing and that you're saying, they might even actually come across as pressure and not invitation. And I am confessing to you all that I note that. Obviously, I'm remembering that because I'm saying that to y'all today, that I think that has maybe lurked around inside of me, and I've remembered that. And maybe at times I have felt hesitant to share an idea like I'm going to today, for fear that it would communicate pressure or should. And what I want to do is I want to candidly say to you all that I don't want to not share ideas because the time is going to go away and your students are going to be gone. And I would rather risk trying to explain myself and say, I'm not trying to tell you you should do this, and if you don't do this, you're not a good parent, but to simply invite you to this. And if it fits in your family dynamic, that I would encourage you in that direction, but that you would not receive it from a place of me saying, you need to do this, and it's indicative of whether you're being a good parent or not. I'm not really even thinking in terms of good parent, bad parent. I'm thinking in terms of needy men and women who are in the guts of being with their sons and daughters, needing Jesus, and just wanting to be together while we're in it, not creating an atmosphere of pressure. So I actually didn't intend to do this, but I want to actually ask for anybody who's watching this, if I have in any way created any sense of pressure towards you about things that I've written about or said, like, you should do this. I just want to say that has not been my heart and is not my heart. And I would ask that you would please forgive me. And if that's the case, please let me know so that we could talk through that. That would be valuable for me, that there would not be any kind of a block between you and I about that. And then I just want to simply say again that even the ideas that I'm sharing with you in the next 5 minutes, they are offered from a place of vision casting, not pressure, and this is what you should do. I would love to invite you as spouses to wonder together about this or these things with your family. So if anybody wants to holler back at me to clarify about that, I'm happy to, but I am aware that was something that was kind of coming up in me. So I'm thinking about marking time today as I review my conversation with Taylor last night and one of those adult intersections and situations where he's facing big boy things with his wife and with his daughter, and knowing not that my relationship with him is over, but my relationship with him is changing, and it has changed, and it will not be the same. It will be different. I feel like that I've shared in writing and also speaking with y'all that I feel like that our relationship with our older children now is shifting to a place of friendship, which is a really, really special and sweet gift. So 2 specific ideas that are about milestones and about marking time, and they're really more marking time along the way, and they are writing letters or in journals and trips with your students. And the ideas are simply this. The idea is the thought of, while your sons and daughters are still living with you, literally as simple as this, and some of you maybe have even already started this, so I'm not telling you anything new, but perhaps for some or one, this is a new idea. The thought of, even if it's not something that you think you would necessarily do, and I think that would be part of what my encouragement would be is just because something is not something you as a parent would naturally move towards doesn't mean that there might not be value in thinking about, could you do it? And this all would be under the umbrella of simply the idea of being a blessing to your children. Maybe that's a refreshing thought as you battle into some of the really hard things about being a parent, as you're in conflict with your son and daughter, as you are disagreeing, as you wonder, how long will it be this way? All of the guts of the real life part of it. So I just encourage you that even if this doesn't initially sound like something you would do, that you and your spouse, y'all together as a strategic team, I do believe that you have the opportunity to be a strategic team in the lives of your sons and daughters, is that you could press into it and consider it, even though it might not be something that you would normally gravitate towards. Get a journal, a notebook. Don't let them know about it. And in the years while your sons and daughters are with you as middle school students and as high school students, even if you happen to be one of the 3 families that have seniors and you're down to your senior year of high school with your son or daughter, even if it's that late in the time, that you would periodically, it's not a daily, it's not a weekly, it's not a monthly, it's just periodically setting aside a journal to write, what do you notice is happening in your son and daughter as they are going through these years? Noticing a particular time of growth, noticing and writing about something that was uniquely hard that they went through, writing about a difficult time that you are going through with them, actually writing about what that's like for you as their mom or their dad. So by saying that, what I'm not saying is just write all the good stuff, write all the happy stuff, write all the joyful stuff. I'm actually vision casting about the possibility of writing about all the stuff. And why would I encourage you to do that? This is not a unique idea to me. I know that there are churches who this is actually a regular part of their student ministry experience. And so I'm aware that that's part of the reason why I'm even wanting to suggest this, because I do think that there is worth thinking about. But it is, the why of doing this would be you as a strategic team, husband and wife, that you would think about down the road a ways, Maybe the senior families are just writing some letters to your sons and daughters, and you're going to gift them that book, that journal, when they graduate at the end of this year. And it would be a way of you just saying, I have been taking time and noticing some of the realities of what I have seen God up to in you. Maybe some of that writing is you're writing about struggling to really see and know about what God is up to in your son or daughter, and you're taking the time to just share how that affects you. And that's not necessarily just a joy thing, but that it is a real life thing. What would the value of this be? Well, the value would be you speaking into them and into their life, and hopefully you having the opportunity to be a blessing to them. And then it's also the reality of you're casting vision for them. Let's say that they perhaps get married and they perhaps have children. You're also maybe vision casting about the possibility of them thinking about investing in their children in that way. And that would bring in the idea of Psalm 78 and the generations being impacted by the story of God along the way. Perhaps you are the parents of a younger student and you're starting with a sixth grader, and you start writing now and you write all the way through, and you have this collection of letters, and you're noticing all of the growth and the changes and the struggle and the celebration from sixth grade. And that's going to be over the next 2,555 days of being in the middle and high school years. Maybe you present that journal to your son or daughter because you continue to write in it as they're in college, and perhaps as they're moving into, they've met somebody that they want to marry, and maybe part of that might be you gift them with that journal when they got married. Maybe you wait until they have a child, if for whatever reason they get married and they are having children. So I'm giving a lot of different ideas about when you might gift them with that, but the idea is you as a mom and dad slowing to notice about things happening in their life, putting that down on paper, putting it down on video. Don't limit yourself. Some storage capacity where you're noticing things with them, about them along the way, and then you're taking the time to speak that into them by offering that journal to them. Lee and I have practiced this over the years, and we have given our first journal to Taylor, who's the one that I was telling the story about as I started this time. And we actually decided that we would give that journal to him when Emma was born. And so we gifted him that as he was starting his journey with his child. And so it was a really meaningful moment. It was really cool. And it was kind of wild, as Lee and I had written over a period of years, to get to a moment we kind of almost felt like, wow, we almost don't want to give this away, because we have been doing that for a while, and it was in a way almost even sacrificial to hand it over, because it was actually it was real life stuff, what we had noticed and written down on the pages. So let me say, inside of that particular idea, I share this idea with you not as a have to, but just as an invitation. I share this idea not as this is something you really need to do. It's just an idea that I would love to just vision cast with you. And again, some or many of you may already be doing this, and I'm glad for you and just want to make you aware of that idea. And then a second idea is about marking time through like a passage trip. And the best way just to describe this is at maybe particular ages that y'all as a strategic team, mom and dad, as you think about that at a particular age, that mom's going away with the son, and then some years down the road at another age, dad's going away with the son, and then you have a time where you both go away, and it doesn't have to be a go away, but there is an idea of, in some way, setting apart a unique space of time where you are just focusing on some personal time with your son or daughter. And it can be mom or dad with either son or daughter, and it can be at different times. I'll again just tell you about Taylor because he seems to be the sun of kind of focus today for us. But so when Taylor was 10, Leah and Taylor went away for a weekend, and then there was just a specific time that they went away as mother and son, and it was a time of just Leah getting to be with Taylor and desire to be a blessing to him. I'd be happy to talk about, even the kind of ideas about what would you do on a time like that, but I'll be more general now. At 13, Taylor and I went away on a trip, and I just thought about where Taylor was at his particular time in life, what was he enjoying, and I picked something, and it was a surprise, and we went, and just he and I went away over several nights and did some things together where we were just sharing some exclusive time together, and it gave me an opportunity just to enjoy friendship with him and getting to speak into him and hang out with him. And then what was really cool about it is Taylor and Leah had gone away at 10, and Taylor and I had gone away at 13. I'll do another one. At 16, we did like a gathering, kind of 16, driver's license time. We actually invited family and friends of his and a girlfriend at the time, and we arranged a time where we just invited some folks just to write and or speak blessing to Taylor as he was marking the time of his 16th year. And we picked a time and a location, and we kind of made it a surprise and just enjoyed inviting other people besides Lee and I to speak into his life, some of his youth leaders and that kind of thing. And then this was actually just a really cool thing that happened, and that was that having gone away with Leah at 10 years back when Taylor turned 20, Taylor actually said, "Hey, so are you and I going away on our 20-year-old trip?" Which was just a really kind of unexpected but really cool intersection where he, as a becoming an adult man, was actually soliciting, "Hey, why don't we do that again 10 years later?" And so he and Leah went away again. They actually went to the same place that they had gone to when he was 10. And that was just a time that Leah got to celebrate, even watching the 10 years pass with Taylor. Same thing. This is not you should do this. This is inviting you to consider what might be as you're winding your way through the 2,555 days. I wrote to Lewis recently that sometimes when things are changing or when you're wanting to introduce something, you realize that you would love for something to begin in just a really smooth way. It's like you haven't been doing something and you begin to do it, and it just has this smooth entry point. And what I wrote to him is that most times when something new is happening and change is happening, it's pretty clunky. It's just there's not a smooth way in. And one of the last things I would love to share with you as I finish is just, if for whatever reason y'all talk together as a team, as a strategic team, husband and wife, and you think, you know what, let's keep talking about this idea. It may be that starting is really clunky, that the thought of getting a journal and writing, what would that even be like, or what would you write, or right now may be so difficult with your son or daughter that the thought of planning a special trip to mark time in their life seems incredibly undesirable. Or maybe it seems like a really, really special opportunity. Wherever you're at in the midst of it, I want to offer to have further conversation with you about it, and B, encourage you that if your sons and daughters are still with you, which they are, that there is opportunity for you as a strategic team, husband and wife, to be investing in them, even if they are rejecting. Even if they seem disinterested, don't care, not interested in you, does not mean that you cannot, with the Lord, continue to, even if it's quietly in ways that they know nothing about, seek to be a blessing to them and seek to invest in them. I'm done. I'm going to pray blessing over you. If I can clarify anything that I have shared today, please call or email me. I would love to talk to you about it. If anybody would like to talk and just brainstorm ideas about this, please, by all means, contact me. I would love to do that. If I have confused or made anyone feel pressure in any way, please call me so that we could talk through that. That is not what my heart is. And I'm really, really thankful for just getting to vision cast with you all and actually be in the guts of wondering about what is happening right now for you with your sons and daughters. And so, blessings to you all. God, I want to thank you for this 30 minutes. I pray your blessing over these moms and dads. I ask, God, that you would spark ideas and thoughts inside of them. I pray that anything that is hard about this idea, that you would meet them in it. If relationship with their students seems far away right now to the point that these ideas seem almost silly, or if relationship between husband and wife right now seems so weird or distant that talking about this seems silly, I ask, God, that you would meet with them, please. And I also ask, God, that you would continue to grow us while our sons and daughters are with us, and that you would allow us to be a blessing to them, even when it's difficult. So thank you. We bless you today. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope that the screen has not gone away because it was black when I came back from the prayer. But last thing that just kind of bubbled up inside of me is this, and that is just to be really honest and say, if you as a married couple are in a place where you are struggling, not getting along, feel like that you're distant away from someone, and you would have any desire to want to sit and talk and just have somebody be with you in that, I know that sometimes can seem really weird and not desirable. And yet I would hate to not invite you and that be really valuable. So I just want to say that Lee and I would be honored to have you come over to our deck and sit and just be together and talk, if that's ever a blessing or would be valuable for you. So just please know that there's interest in that. I bless you all. I love you all. I miss you. Please holler if you have any clarification and if you would like to talk further. Peace.